Welcome to Monterrey, Mexico. There's a very enthusiastic crowd here on hand to enjoy the party atmosphere right here in Fundidora Park.
These are the maestros of the Meccano, men and women who, rather than a baton, use a torque wrench, an air gun, and a host of computers to orchestrate the performance of the most technologically advanced race cars on the continent. For them, laser-like focus is all in a day's work, contemplating the most minute detail, a requisite obligation. These are the mechanics, the engineers, the crew chiefs of Champ Car, the pros who compose that which is music to our ears, the fanfare of a field of Ford Cosworth engines as they get ready to take the green. To be part of a Champ Car team is to commit one's soul to speed, to cheerfully embrace long hours, constant pressure, the certain knowledge that all your hard work can be cruelly undone on the racetrack in just an instant. At the same time, when the stars align, when every section of the orchestra is perfectly in tune, then all the sacrifice, the frustration, it all washes away in a moment, and you get to bask for that moment in the unmatchable glow of victory. Presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford. The sights, the sounds, the exhilaration of a 185-mile-an-hour festival of speed.
Welcome to the Tecate Grand Prix of Monterrey, presented by Roche fans. Hi, I'm Jeremy Shaw, joined once again by Atlantic driver James Hinchcliffe. It's hot here in Monterrey, but unlike in Houston 1 week ago, this is a very smooth, low-grip racetrack. It's going to be a heck of an event this afternoon. We are, once again, the man to beat is going to be Sebastian Bourdais. He's on pole yet again for Newman Haas Racing, that #1 McDonald's car. It's the 20th pole of his career. He's been here 4 times to Monterrey, and every time he has started from the pole, but as yet just 1 win to his name. Can he make it 2 this afternoon? There you go, sir.
It depends a lot on how the strategy plays out, but you know, it's all about track position around here most of the time, but then the race can get really crazy if people are getting out of sync and you've got different strategies getting on the racetrack at different moments with different tires, so it can be a pretty interesting race.
Justin Wilson will start second. He had a difficult time in Houston. He finished 5th after a couple of spins. He really had to work hard. He had blistered hands, but he's qualified 2nd this weekend.
My hand is a lot better now. It's not blistered up too bad, so I'm just trying to take precautions on that. But he's not really an issue. It's the same for everyone, so he's just trying to get the most out of the car in these conditions.
Another man with high expectations this weekend is Mexican hero Mario Dominguez. He enjoyed his first career pole in Houston and finished 3rd, but he had a very tough time here in Monterrey 1 year ago.
That was the worst race I've ever driven, ever since I started racing go-karts since I was 10. That's how bad that was, and I hope this year is one of the best. I'll just try to do my best. Monterrey, very important race for us, obviously. This one and Mexico City, the 2 most important races of the year for me. And I'm going to try to do a great job and go for the revenge from Houston.
Another story this weekend is Alex Tagliani. He's 6th on the grid, once again going well for Team Australia. He's a bit battered and bruised from a freakish accident from the right towards the end of the race last week in Houston, but he's back unbowed and ready to go this afternoon.
We had this little motor that activates the water bottle, you know, for drinking in the car, that got detached from the front of the car due to the really roughness of the track, and then it jumped into, you know, like the pedal area, and I had it, you know, in my feet, and I guess as long as it was in front of the heel rest, everything was good. But then on the full course yellow, just right after we noticed that we lost the rear brake, the little motor got like stuck in between the heel rest and the throttle, and it never allowed the pedal to come back. So it went full throttle for about 2 seconds, got to 98 miles an hour and straight into the wall. The nose of the Champ car are a lot lower, than the Formula 1 car, and instead of tapping the tires, I went just underneath and I raised the tire over me, and then just went into my face, and then the nose of the car just went straight into the wall. A very hard hit.
So look how far that tyre wall was moved 1 week ago. Here are the points after round 2 coming into this weekend. Sebastian Bourdais, obviously a clear leader. Mario Dominguez said Bourdais has got one more point this weekend for taking the pole. Justin Wilson got the provisional pole also on Friday. So honours even there so far this weekend. But there's a lot to play for this afternoon. This is a great racetrack.
2 victoires. Il a pratiquement fait le plein des points à chaque course, ramenant avec lui les points de bonus de la qualification et autres points de bonus pour les tours menés et tours plus rapides en piste. Voici d'ailleurs justement le tracé d'aujourd'hui.
Ouais, 3 km 360, un peu plus de 2 miles pour 76 tours à faire, 12 virages sur ce circuit superbe de Monterrey aujourd'hui pour 17 pilotes qui vont se battre pendant donc ces 76 tours.
Et oui, 2 petits points de...
Closed down in 1986, but was reopened as a park in the year 2001. We're going to have a look down the starting order this weekend. It's going to be Sebastian Bourdais once again, the 20th pole of his career, the 20th Bridgestone pole award of his career, I should say, in his 48th start. Just an amazing record. Justin Wilson alongside AJ Allmendinger, bounced back from a difficult Houston. He will start on row 2 alongside Bruno Junqueira. On row 3 of the grid, Paul Tracy, Mr. Excitement there. And alongside him, Alex Tagliani, just doing a super job this season so far for Team Australia. Back on row 4 is Oriol Servia, gradually chipping away there for PKV Racing. Alongside him, Mario Dominguez. He wanted to do a lot better than that after taking his first career pole just 1 week ago. Row 5 of the grid, Will Power, the second of the Team Australia cars. He made a big improvement in the final session of qualifying. He is the best qualifying rookie. Alongside him, Charles Waltzman from Holland. He won the Atlantic race here 1 year ago. Jan Halen for Delcoin Racing, ahead of his 2002 champion Cristiano D'Amata teammate Andrew Race.
Okay, the satellite truck guy is going to talk to you.
Okay.
Going out to Moscow. Okay, thanks. I'll let you call the FD.
I can hear you, yeah, fine.
Pit strategy obviously can come into play. Catherine had a pretty good run going, and then she had a bit of spin in qualifying, which brought out the yellow flag, and that ended up having a fast lap taken away.
We're going to have some great shots on board with you this afternoon. This is Mario Dominguez's car, and he's going to bring us some fantastic pictures from that number 7 Rochefran's car. Justin Wilson, he will start on the outside of the front row in the CDW car from the Roo Sport team. And again, he had a tough time in Houston, as we heard earlier on, but he came away with a good top 5 finish, and is still running strong in the championship in third place now behind Mario Dominguez. They're going to bring us some great shots as well. Also, not sure whose car that is. I think it's Justin Wilson's car again, is it? We're not quite sure, but there's certainly going to be plenty of action. We have 2 more on-board cameras as well. This is Charles Waltzman in the GoldenPalace.net car. He is running very, very well this weekend. He won the Atlantic race here 1 year ago. It was his first win, and he went on to win the championship. There's high confidence on this racetrack, and he's really looking forward to the race. Andrew Ranger also carrying the colours of GoldenPalace.net and Tide this weekend, so good opportunity for this Hijack Conquest Racing team, James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew had a great run here last year in only his second Champ Car race. Came home with a second finishing position, which was, I believe, the best finishing position for Hijack still to date. And great run for Andrew, so he knows the track well. He's clearly comfortable here. Maybe not the best starting position. He was probably hoping for a little bit better, having the success he did here last year. But it's a long race. There's no reason why he can't make up another good podium position here today.
Dead right. It was certainly a brilliant run by Andrew Ranger here last year. He became the youngest ever podium finisher in Champ Car history when he finished second here 1 year ago. He'd started 14th on the grid, so it was a great drive through the pack by the youngster. He was the second youngest driver ever to start a Champ Car race at 18 years, 4 months and 21 days. That was a little bit over 1 year ago, of course. Now the youngest driver, Nelson Philippe, who now, of course, has moved across to the CTE racing team with HVM. And Nelson's had a tough time this weekend. He also ran well here, however, 1 year ago. He led the most laps in this race, in actual fact. He had a couple of problems late in the late stages of that race and dropped back a bit. But he came into this weekend once again with a high level of confidence, but it didn't show in qualifying. He's qualified behind his teammate Dan Clark, and certainly Nelson Philippe was very disappointed by that. Dan Clark, yeah, he's been a talk again this weekend. He had that incident last week with Catherine Legg when Dan was running, about 14 laps down, and he was trying to unlap himself on Catherine, who was still battling amongst the top 10, took Catherine out. She was really upset. The chief steward here, the race director, Tony Cotman, had a word with Dan Clark, and amazingly enough, both Legg and Clark got together again in the first 5 minutes of the opening practice session here on Friday morning. Dan Clark is now on probation, so he's going to have to watch his P's and Q's this afternoon in Monterrey. So here we are in Monterrey, Mexico, round 3 of the Champ Car World Series, and we can see once again there is the number 1 car, Sebastian Bourdais, the McDonald's car of Newman House Racing. He will once again start from the pole. Alongside him, though, is Justin Wilson. Yeah, these two guys, they're the men to beat this season, James, it seems.
Yeah, they really are. They've been class of the field pretty much since the opening practice at Long Beach.
What's the key to the start here?
Well, the key to the start here is just getting the power down with 750 horsepower in these Cosworth motors. As they come around here, cars lined up. One car to line there. Looks like Mario.
There they go, the green flag is out, the green flag is out, JD Wilbur waves it, and it's Sebastian Bourdais got a great jump into turn 1, and AJ opening and making a big lunge down the inside to get past his Rooseport teammate, Justin Wilson. That was a very dicey move. I think everybody made it through the corner. There is Dan Clark. Maybe he's dropped back, so he must have had some sort of a mishap there in the very first corner, but a great start by Sebastian Bourdais, and somehow Justin Wilson got himself back up into second place, but look how much ground those two have lost already to Sebastian Bourdais.
We got a great race going on. AJ looking pretty dicey going on the inside of Justin there in corner 5. Look at the lead though. Sebastian already pulled out 3 corners into it. He had about a 5-car length lead over Justin, but this Justin AJ PT battle for second place is looking to add some excitement to this race.
It is, and there certainly is a big lunge in turn 1. As you said, he had another look down in turn 5 also, did AJ Omani. No team orders there quite clearly between those two Roosevelt guys, but what they have done, of course, is allow Sebastian Bourdais to pull out a little bit of a breathing space over these two in the very early stages of this race. This is the fastest part of the course, around about 170 miles an hour, all the way down to second gear for this turn 10 left-hander. And as you said, James, these two carousel corners to the right and then to the left, and onto this start-finish lap to complete lap 1 here in Monterrey. 75 laps we will run this afternoon. 75 laps. We're expecting 2 pit stops. You can see most. There's a problem for Nelson Philippe, we believe that is. So both CTE cars apparently have had problem on the first lap. Yes, it is car number 4, Nelson Philippe. We saw Dan Clark apparently have an off-course excursion on the very first corner, and now Nelson Philippe is off as well. Let's take a replay of the start down in turn 1. You can see that the yellow car of Almaning had lunged down the inside into turn 1, but Justin Wilson was able to get around the outside. Here, though, are the 2 CTE cars getting together at the very first corner. What a disaster for Keith Wiggins.
No, that's just brutal. I feel horrible for Nelson. He's coming off his best ever finish in a Champ Car race, 4th last week in Houston, to have contact, and if it is in fact with his teammate, I mean that's the cardinal sin in motor racing. The one golden rule is do not take out your teammate. The second golden rule, of course, is don't date your teammate's sister, but this is almost just as bad.
It certainly is. And Keith Wiggins will not be at all impressed. I know Nelson Philippe was really upset to qualify behind his teammate Dan Clark. He's still already not really getting along terribly well. Nelson saying that he's getting no help in terms of the setup from his teammate Dan Clark, so why should I help him? Well, Dan Clark actually out-qualified him yesterday, so Nelson clearly trying to get a jump on his teammate there at the first corner, and it all went wrong.
Yeah, Dan seems to be one of these really naturally talented drivers, but just doesn't have the experience in the Champ Cars that Nelson does, so might not be able to offer as much technical feedback. And also, he has had his fair number of incidents only 3 races into his Champ Car career now. Well, I guess 2.1 maybe if you want to count it like that, but he's had quite a few incidents, so he's not maybe adding as much data and as much feedback as he could be.
He is not, you're absolutely right. He's certainly not flavour of the month anywhere in the Champ Car paddock. Just about everybody's been talking about Dan Clark this weekend. Dangerous Dan, they're calling him. He likes to be known as Speedy Dan. That's a nickname that spans from his karting days, but as you said, James, he's had an awful lot of incidents, and he had several on Friday. We talked about it earlier on already. Within 5 minutes of the first practice session on Friday, he and Catherine Legg got together out on the track, and apparently Dan just turned in on Catherine, and that seems to be the general consensus all around. Dan Clark was called before the race officials and given a strong reprimand, and then later on in the afternoon he had a run-in also with Paul Tracy, and Paul Tracy is not a guy as a rookie, and particularly as one who's already in trouble, to have a run-in with.
Rookie, veteran, doesn't really matter. You really don't want to run in with PT, as we're on board with Mario here, looking ahead up to Oriol Servio. We're just looking at Will Power behind him a few moments ago, looking a little racy, the Team Aussie Vineyards car. Will's doing a pretty good job hanging onto the back of that Forsyth car. And look at Sebastian now. Wilson's got the gap down a little bit to just 0.6 seconds. Bourdais had a really bad lap that last lap. His first 2 were pretty quick, about half a second quicker than the driver in second place there, Justin Wilson. But he seems to have had a bad one, an 18.2 to Justin's 17.6, who's closed the gap in half now, down to just 0.6 of a second.
It is very easy though to make a mistake on this track. It's such a low grip racetrack. I mean, Bridgestone has brought softer tyres this weekend, but the drivers are still struggling, and particularly on full fuel tanks.
Absolutely. The teams and drivers would have been welcoming these softer compound Bridgestones with open arms because of the low grip here, but like you said, it's so easy to make a mistake with the track having so little grip. It's really, really unforgiving.
On different teams, they can do it here, no sweat.
We're looking forward to a battle. Let's go over to Bill Stevens.
Craig Hampson is, well, he kind of looks like the Cheshire Cat right now. I asked him, is Sebastian telling you anything about the car? And he says, not really a whole lot. And as he said it, he kind of had that look on his face like there's nothing really to worry about right now. They seem to think everything's under control.
Thank you, Bill Stevens there down in the Newman House Racing Pit, and Craig Hampson there. He's got all sorts of things on his mind this weekend. Not only the performance of that man Sebastian Bourdais, these two just working so well together. There is Kenny Seawick there, the team manager for the McDonald's car. But Craig Hampson also had other things on his mind. His wife Helen is back home in Illinois, expecting their first child at absolutely any moment. Craig is ready to jump on a golf cart, get out of this racetrack, get to the airport, and Carl Haas, his private jet, is standing by to take Craig back to Illinois if that is required. Otherwise, he was telling me yesterday, he's been hoping all weekend that this child is going to come, he reckons, about Tuesday or Wednesday. The original due date was Friday, but he and Helen have been talking about it since Christmas Day, and Tuesday or Wednesday about like we'd have plenty of time then to get ready, get ourselves acclimated to these new surroundings, and then get on to the next race in Milwaukee. So Newman Asher are very much racers, as are the Roosport team as well.
All right, here's a scenario for you. 5 laps to go. Seabass is leading. Justin's very close. He gets the phone call. Does he leave or does he wait for the 5 laps to see if Seabass can hold on?
We will have to wait and see. But look at these two. They're just edging away again. But Justin Wilson is dogging the wheel tracks of Sebastian Bourdais. It really is a great tussle between those two. In the meantime, the quickest man, the fastest lap so far, has been set by the 4th place car of Paul Tracy.
You can see there, but with Justin running as close as he is, it really tells me that he's got a faster car, and Sebastian is holding him up a little bit. It's not that easy to follow closely in these Champ cars, especially at a track with such little grip naturally. So with Justin being so close, really tells us that he's got a race car that he can really push for the win today.
is Sebastian Bourdais still out in front, and the gap now is around about a second, so the biggest it's been thus far in the early stages. 8 laps now in the book here in Fundidora Park, and that car number 1, the McDonald's car of Sebastian Bourdais, leads the CDW Rousport car number 9 of Justin Wilson. And again, Wilson there pretty close. They both had a brief shot of their Cosworth push to pass button. They have 60 seconds worth of usage in this race, and as was experimented 1 week ago in Houston, they've come down on the power a little bit in standard trim, only 40.25 inches of mercury boost, and then it goes up more. So you now, instead of having a 50 horsepower jump when you press that push to pass button, now you've got a 75 horsepower jump, and the drivers reckon that is certainly a very good move. And I think we're going to see some strategy playing in when do they use that power to pass button as this race unfolds, James.
Yeah, the extra horsepower and the power to pass is definitely something that's going to help these drivers. Any little bit helps. The whole concept's a good idea, and Chamcar realized that there was an opportunity there to maybe make the passing a little bit easier, trying to help these guys out by giving them that bigger 75 horsepower gain from the 50. So it will be interesting to see how that's used throughout the race. Sebastian still has 55 of his 60 seconds, and Justin's used just 10 seconds of his allotted amount, so he's got 50 left, a little bit less than Sebastian. But right now, those guys are not thinking about that. They're just laying these laps down. The times are falling. The gap is still at just 0.6 of a second. So Justin really not letting Sebastian get anywhere close to the lead that he wants right now.
The other thing, of course, they're bearing in mind at this stage of the race is fuel consumption. They get around about 1.8 miles to the gallon on these cars, 750 horsepower from this Ford Cosworth XFE engine, and if they can just steady up a little bit, they don't have a fuel mixture button like they did in the past. So nowadays, it's up to the driver to regulate the fuel consumption, how hard he presses that pedal, and for how long to determine the fuel consumption. If you can get better fuel consumption than the next guy, maybe you could do 1 extra lap before you make your first pit stop, and that could be crucial, because here, again, unlike in Formula 1, there's no tyre warmers here in the Champ Car World Series. So when a driver leaves the pits after topping up with fuel and a fresh set of Bridgestone Potenza tyres, the tyres are absolutely stone cold, well, ambient temperature cold at least, so the drivers then have to build heat into those tyres, and that takes a while. So if you can do 1 extra lap on the hot tyres before you make that pit stop, that can be crucial.
Yeah, and it was actually a second car in line here running 8th, Mario Dominguez, as he was trying to save fuel in Houston when he made that crucial mistake that lost him the race, trying to push a little bit deeper in those brake zones, carry more speed through so you get a little bit later to the throttle, try and save a little bit of fuel. So if that does come into play at a track like this, such slow grip, it'll be interesting to see if any similar mistakes are made when drivers are trying to save some fuel.
Yeah, and it certainly is a very, as we've talked about already, it's a very easy track on which to make a mistake. You can see Justin Wilson there using all of the curb in turn 10.
Yeah, it really does. It's, you know, in our Atlantic cars, we don't quite have the suspension and shock package to be able to do that. Our cars get pretty upside, but we're going down, I think, the pits with Craig Hampson.
Yeah. Down with Craig Hampson, the field general for Sebastian Bourdais. Craig, at this point, do you think that fuel mileage is going to be a critical element of who wins this today?
Yeah, probably. It's not a race where we're sort of desperate to make fuel mileage just to finish or to do it on 2 pit stops instead of 3. The windows are really big, but we're always trying to go 1 lap further than the next guy. We're working hard to make mileage. Justin's working hard to make mileage. The lead of the race could well be determined by who goes a lap further on the first stint here.
Justin keeps pressing Sebastian. Will that have an effect on how you play the fuel card?
I mean, he's definitely driving very aggressively, but I know they're working on mileage as well. We're just going to kind of keep doing what we're doing and see how it works out.
The chess game begins.
Chess game does indeed begin. 11 laps now in the books out of 75 this weekend, and this afternoon I should say, and we're expecting the leaders to make their first round of pit stops around about lap 27, so we're not quite halfway through this fuel stint yet, and the drivers they've got a lot on their minds. They've got to keep it on the track, number one, because it is so slick, so slippery here, and then they've got to look after that fuel consumption as well. Let's take another look on board with Justin Wilson. You can see the ambient temperature right now is 97 degrees Fahrenheit, 36 degrees centigrade. Track temperature 52 degrees C, or 125 Fahrenheit. And look at the change from what it was in the warm-up session this morning about 3 hours ago. There's a jump of about almost 20 degrees centigrade and 30 degrees in track temperature. Those are pretty significant changes, James.
Yeah, and this track is somewhat sensitive to temperature changes, as most of them are. The hotter it gets, the track to a certain point warms up and gets more grip, and then it goes over that breaking point and it starts to go a bit greasy. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But the way the track is normally, as you see the huge bump there heading into that corner there, really upsets the cars on the braking. But the track surface the way it is, it's really hard to find a nice balance of the cars. I mean, right now we have Junkie reporting back to his pits of massive understeer, Tag reporting that it's really loose. It's not one of those tracks where the drivers are all having consistent problem. You got to find such a compromise on the setup that one end or the other, it depends on which car and which way you're going, stiff on springs, soft on springs. There's two real mentalities to making grip at this racetrack. One of them is go really stiff, have a pointy, shooty car that you can really get to turn in and get to power, or go really soft, almost drive it like as if the track was wet and you got a rain setup, really soft, let the car roll over onto the tires. So it's interesting to see which drivers are taking which approach to the setup of their cars.
Yeah, it is very difficult. As you say, all the drivers are complaining of different things. Well, they're all complaining of something unless they're at the front. And even the guys at the front are saying, the car's sliding around a lot. But most of them say, the balance is pretty good. And even on full tanks here, the balance stays fairly consistent because of the fact it is such a slick racetrack. It's such a smooth racetrack. But there's just a lack of grip all around. And here we've got this great battle going on for 7th place between Oriol Servia trying to hold off Mario Dominguez.
Yeah, Mario's getting pretty close there. It looks like if he still has, I believe, 57 seconds left of his power to pass. It looks like he might be getting an itchy trigger finger, or might be pointing that a little bit in the near future.
There he goes, turning there into turn 5. That's the tightest corner on the racetrack. Down to first gear, actually, most of these guys use down a 7-speed gearbox. Some of them use 6, some of them use 7 speeds here in Fundadora Park. And again, down here into turn 6. It's again a very slick part of the racetrack. They use all of the curb there to get onto this relatively short straightaway, which they'll reach only about 135, 140 miles an hour. Then hard on the brakes again for turn 8. This is the left-hander. You can see just over the top of those old grandstands there, there's an amusement park over there, and there's a big bird sign up there. I was talking with Oriol Servia this morning. He was telling me how last year when he was teammates with Jimmy Vasser at PKB Racing, they were doing their debriefs and they were talking about that corner. And Jimmy said, yeah, that's Big Bird corner. All I see when I'm braking there is this big sign of Big Bird, and he tells me to brake deeper and deeper and deeper. And I say, hey man, I'm braking as deep as I can.
Yeah, Jimmy would say that. I don't know. I'm kind of looking at the braking points going into that corner. I didn't notice any Big Bird, but it's funny. We were just on board with Charles Wilson. Looks like we're maybe back on here with him now. Going through corner 10, he did not take anywhere near the amount of curb that Justin Wilson or Mario Dominguez is taking. So it looks like Charles might have gone with the stiffer setup, which doesn't allow him to use those curbs because that really upsets the car. So like I was talking about before, the different setups, big oversteer from him going in there. The rear brake lockup, really big issue at some parts of this track, especially into that corner 5 hairpin.
So tyre consumption is certainly going to be an issue this weekend. As ever, we have 8 sets of Bridgestone tyres used throughout the weekend. They have 6 sets of the regular black sidewall tyres, and then 2 sets each of these, the red stripes, the softer tyre. Both of the tyres are brand new this weekend. Paige Maiden, the Bridgestone engineer, was telling me, this track is so low grip. We're just trying to help the driving as much as we can, but even though we go softer and softer on compounds, it doesn't seem to make life any easier for the drivers. They're still slip sliding around. Though, as I said, they have gone quicker this year than last. We did have a new track record in qualifying, and we'll see whether we see the same in the race as well. The fastest lap record at this event was set by Sebastian Bourdais a couple of years ago, a 1 minute 15.021. Last year, Timo Glock set the fastest lap, a 1 minute 15.3. The fastest lap so far this afternoon, a 1:16.283, so 1 second away from that lap record by Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah, I just got a quick shot of Claire Bourdais, Sebastian's wife there, newly married just before the Houston race. Actually, the two of them finally got married after a long engagement. Now, I was just looking down at the board here. Catherine Lank had made some progress. She got herself up to 14th, but now she's reporting that the tires are really going off on her car, and she's fallen back down to 16th, the last running car on track.
Yeah, she had, I think, a brief off-course excursion a couple of laps ago. We didn't catch it, but that's what we were hearing from the pit lane. So she, as you say, is running in 16th. Ahead of her is Dan Clark in 15th, who's had a couple of offs. and ahead of him is Nicky Pastorelli in the Rocket Sports Racing entry. But there is Paul Tracy, car number 3. He's won here before in Monterrey, and he wants to do so again. He won this race 3 years ago en route to the championship, and he would love nothing more than to win again this afternoon. He's tracking, he's following along in 4th place. The man directly ahead of him is AJ Allmendinger. So we've got 16 laps in the books now. Bourdais is still out in front, ahead of Justin Wilson by around about 1.2 seconds. Pretty much steady gaps between each of these top 4 cars, just over 1 second, separating Bourdais from Wilson, Wilson from Allmendinger, Allmendinger from Tracy, and then a gap of about another 4 seconds back to Bruno Junqueira in 5th place. And interesting, isn't it? That Bruno Junqueira just doesn't seem to have the pace of Sebastian Bourdais this season as yet.
Yeah, it looks though in this race in particular, Bruno's he's complaining of a little bit of understeer in the car, which is again not uncommon at this track as we look at PT going through this corner here.
Let's get down to the pit lane and hear from Neil Mickelwright from Forsyth Racing. He's looking after the wares of
down here with Neil Mickelwright, the man from Paul Tracy. Practice didn't go that well. Car looked a little dicey. How is it now, and what's the strategy for Paul?
I think we've got the car a good deal better than it was in the morning warm-up, and probably as good as it's been all weekend. Right now, I think it seems fairly good balance. We're making reasonable mileage, running 4th, running as quick as the leaders, and just hanging out there. So we're waiting to see how things unfold a little bit, see if there's an opportunity for us.
Waiting and seeing could be a wise strategy today.
We hope so.
Paul Tracy has not been happy with the handling of that car all weekend. In fact, it seems like Forsyth Racing, both in the Atlantic and the Champ cars, have been struggling this weekend, James.
I hate to say it, but across the board, we got 6 cars running here this weekend, and not one of them can say that they had a decent amount of grip at any point during this weekend. It's really unfortunate as we go to a replay here, something on Paul's car. Big oversteer heading into corner 1 there. He collects it. But again, it just demonstrates a lack of grip, even with these red sidewall Bridgestone tires that Paul's on in this stint. The guys at Forsyth, we're just missing something. We just don't quite have the lateral grip that some of these other cars have. So Paul's holding pretty good station there. Like you say, the gaps between the first 4 cars are all pretty consistent. No one seems to be running away with anything. So maybe a little bit later in the race, pit strategy, maybe a yellow flag could come into play and get this race a little bit dicey.
And little to choose between their best laps thus far. Sebastian Bourdais still has the fastest lap of the race thus far, which is of course worth a championship point. It's 1:16.283. Both Wilson and Allmendinger, they've done a 1:16.3. Paul Tracy a 1:16.5, and then Bruno Junqueira and Alex Tagliani running in 6th place have both done 1:16.6. So those are the 6 quickest guys and the 6 best positions in the race thus far. Dan Clark in actual fact is the 7th fastest lap thus far at 1:16.9. So in 15th place, trying to track down Nicky Pastorelli is Dan Clark. So he's made at least one error in the early stages of this race. We saw, I think, another clip there of Paul Tracy running wide coming out of turn 7. So Paul is certainly trying hard, as if we doubted it.
Yeah, I don't think Paul has any other mode than hard charging mode. So he's just going to be doing what he can with the car that he's got. Like I said, holding 4th right now he's not doing too bad. He doesn't seem to be losing too much time to the leaders on each lap. They're all running pretty consistent paces, which is really good. It shows that they all actually have pretty good cars beneath them. You know, we've been getting reports from the pits from a lot of drivers who are saying they're complaining about either understeer or oversteer. The top 4 cars have been pretty silent. All 4 of them seem to be pretty happy with the cars underneath them right now.
And each of them lapping pretty consistently into a high 1:16s now, or very low 1:17 second range. So as you say, they are pretty consistent. They are running nicely. I think it's fair to say within themselves in the early stages of this motor race. 19 laps now in the books out of 76 it is, I think, this afternoon. So still a long way to go, and we're within 10 laps of the first round of pit stops. Everybody did start the race on the red sidewall tyres, the softer of the 2 Bridgestone Potenza options available to the teams this weekend. And we're going to be interested to see who switches to the reds, who switches to the blacks, or who stays on the reds for the second middle stint of this race. As I've said, everybody has only 2 sets of the red sidewall tyres used through the entire weekend. They ran those tyres in qualifying at least at one stage or another. On Friday, Justin Wilson elected to run his first set of red sidewall tyres and used it to excellent effect by gaining the championship point by taking the provisional pole on Friday. He used his second set yesterday in the final qualifying session, and he had an off-course excursion on what would have been his best lap down at the chicane there at turns 3 and 4. In actual fact it was, and up until that point, even though he'd only gone through 2 corners, the onboard dash telemetry told him he was up 4/10 of a second through those first couple of corners, and then he got a bit greedy. He tried to get another 4/10 in that corner there, turns 3 and 4, that chicane. He left his braking too deep, went bounding across the grass and lost all the time that he had gained, so he had to be content with second on the grid. But as I say, he's very happy with that car, and it seems to work equally well on the black tyres or the red tyres, but certainly the red tyres do seem to be a little bit quicker.
Yeah, it's a crushing feeling when you're in qualifying and you're on a good lap, and then mistakes are made and you end up losing a big gain that you had. But Justin's doing a great job so far, and he's just going to try and keep up with Sebastian as best he can.
Around the world on Eurosport, on the Fox Sports International Network, Speed Latin America, RDS in Canada, and Network 10 in Australia. And here is the first pit stop of the afternoon. It is not a scheduled pit stop. It is Nicky Pastorelli driving the Race World car there for the Rocket Sports Racing team. And the call is he was blocking that man, Dan Clark. Dan Clark had been setting some very quick laps after an early spin. He came up behind Nicky Pastorelli trying to find a way past, and Pastorelli was accused of blocking and was determined that was the case by race control, and the call went down to the Rocket Sports pit. You will have a drive-through penalty. So Pastorelli has served that penalty, and that leaves clear track now for Dan Clark to try and catch up. Now the next man in his sights will be Jan Halen in the second of the Dale Coyne Racing cars.
Yeah, Dan's been going really well today. Like you said, he had that little incident at the beginning of the race that kind of put him behind the 8 ball, but 7th fastest lap of the race still is not a bad feat at all in his CT HVM car. He's now got a little bit of free track in front of him since Nicky's been forced to pull off there. It'll be just detrimental to Nicky's race because now he's had to go through the pits but not be able to do his pit stop. You know, we're getting close to the pit stop windows, but he won't be able to capitalize on that. Really unfortunate for Nicky Pastorelli.
Running behind, so Pastorelli rejoins in 16th place behind Catherine Legg. And Catherine, she's turning some good laps. That was her best lap, her last lap around, a 1:17.47, which stands actually 8th overall in the ranking of fastest laps in this race so far. We're looking though at the race leader, Sebastian Bourdais, getting nearer and nearer to the first round of pit stops. And there we can see the standard tyres, the black sidewall tyres. But there's a set of reds as well. So the Newman House Racing team playing it coy down there in pit lane. They've got both the reds and the blacks ready for their first lap. The yellow is out. The full course caution, the first full course caution of the day. Debris on the racetrack, we are hearing. The pits, therefore, will be closed. That is the scenario in the Champ Car World Series these days. When the yellow comes out, the pits are closed until everybody packs up behind the pace car. Then the pits will be opened. Then people can make their first pit stop of the day. And if you're thinking about Nicky Pastorelli coming in, having stopped a couple of laps ago, well, that was a penalty, so you're not allowed to service the car. So this is absolutely level playing field for everybody. You can see the entire pit lane is laying out for their first round of pit stops.
Yeah, we've had the race going on track, and now the race moves to pit lane. All the cars will be coming in together. They'll all be coming in nose to tail because they're all bunched up behind the pace car. It's going to be a battle of the pit crews now. It's really exciting stuff. Good timing for Sebastian. He just started reporting to the pits that his rear tires were going off. Had it not been in the pit window and they had to go to a restart, it would have been a great opportunity for Justin to try and make the move. Now it all comes down to the crews to see who can get out first.
Indeed, so this is going to close the entire field up. The first 4 or 5 or 6 had pulled away from the rest of the order then. Bourdais, Wilson, Allmendinger, Tracy, Junqueira and Tagliani, they were the top 6, and they were well clear of the rest of the field, who were pretty much held up behind Oriol Servia. Servia was 7th, then it was Dominguez, Power, Ranger, Zaltzman, DeMatta, Halen, and then Clark and Legg, and they were pretty much nose to tail, give or take a little bit. So now everybody is going to be able to haul up to the race leader. See if they can catch him before they come around to make their pit stops, of course. And you can see, as you can see, everybody is laid out on the pit lane. Most of the teams appear to be getting ready. Well, actually, there's pretty mix. As I look up and down the pit lane here, I can see a mix of red and black sidewall tyres ready to go onto these cars. So this is going to be very, very interesting indeed. So it is lap 24. The pit window was open, so this is a pretty good timing for these teams to make their first of 2 scheduled pit stops this afternoon. There is our race leader, Sebastian Bourdais, on lap 25. He will be, can't see the pit stop, the pit lane cue board, whether it is open or closed at this stage, but they're coming around the last couple of corners now. The green light is on, so the pits are open, and here we go. Look at Sebastian Bourdais trying to get a little bit of an edge, and he tried that a couple of years ago and spun off and hit the wall in his rookie season, but look at him, absolutely nose to tail. We hear that the Rousport team might be hedging their bets here on the pit stops as to whether they go to the blacks or the reds, but we will wait and see. Here they come, they pull into the pit lane. There is Justin Wilson, more reds onto the car number 9. Sebastian Bourdais, however, he goes to the blacks. So fascinating strategy here. There goes Justin Wilson. Can he get Sebastian Bourdais? Yes, he can.
Very, very nice move by the CCWS Rousport crew. That was phenomenal pit work to get Justin out in front. Now Justin, we know Sebastian went on to the black sidewall Bridgestone tires. It looks as though Justin stayed with red. So it'll be interesting to see if, they were running very similar paces. High fives to all the crew there. Great job from them as we look back from Justin now to Sebastian, who's lost his lead, lost the lead of this race to Justin Wilson. It'll be interesting to see. They were running very similar lap times at the beginning in the first stint, and now they're on different tires. Let's see where the advantage lies.
This is going to be fascinating. That was Carl Russo in the white shirt there. High five in the crew. Robert Midkiff and the boys there did a brilliant stop for Justin Wilson. They got him out ahead of the erstwhile race leader Sebastian Bourdais. So that will mean that Justin Wilson also now will pick up a bonus point for leading this afternoon. The driver directly behind the pace car, however, is Speedy Dan Clark. I presume, therefore, that Dan did not come onto pit lane. I don't know whether he missed the call or whether it's a very strange strategic call. There is Jeremy Dale of the Rousport team on pit lane. On board there with...
Did you short fuel him? We did not short fuel. We've got a full tank. We're in great shape. Sebastian took blacks, we took reds, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here in this middle stint of the race.
Are you guys a little worried on the gamble with the reds going out now and having to run the blacks later?
We'll see. The track's going to get rubbered in. It's going to be in better shape towards the end of the race. Justin's got a great car. He was doing great on fuel mileage. Sebastian's got a great car. He was doing a great job on fuel mileage. So it looks like it's a race.
We'll see how it goes.
It is a race, and we're getting ready to go back to green flag conditions again. The pace car is pulling. Here's a replay again of that brilliant work there by the car number 9. Bob Midkiff on the outside front, and away he goes. Great stop there. The green is out, and Dan Clark wisely gets right out of the way. Oh, but they're looking down the inside.
He pushes Sebastian Wise on the outside of turn 2. If he can cut down, he's done it. It looks like AJ's got ahead of Sebastian. Junqueira in the pits got ahead of Paul Tracy. Now we've got a race going, Jeremy.
Hats off to Dan Clark. They did a very good job. It was a very difficult job to get out of the way and get here, not impede any of the race leaders. Dan, to his credit, has done exactly that. And look at Paul Tracy trying to make a move on Bruno Junqueira. Well, if that isn't a block, I don't know what is.
But he might get him. It's going to be, there you go. He high-lows him. I think Bruno got a bit wise there, realized that was a move he was probably going to be penalized for. It gave Paul a position, but great move by AJ on the outside of corner 2 there. I bet Carl Russo's grinning from ear to ear right now.
I'll bet he is. Brilliant. What a turn of events for the Rousport team. They're running in second and third, and now they're in first and second. And Sebastian Bourdais on those black tires, of course, the slightly harder compound. He's now back in third place, and in his mirrors is going to be very shortly
Paul Tracy. His favorite person on earth. Now Paul also on the reds, so we've got the leader and the 4th place car on reds, sandwiching the 2 black sidewall tire cars of AJ Allmendinger and Sebastian Bourdais in second and third. So it'll be interesting to see, first of all, if Justin can pull away from AJ and Sebastian, and if Paul can close the gap and maybe start making some progress.
Yes, it will there. So Bruno Junqueira has relinquished that position to this man, Paul Tracy. He gained the position during the pit stop, and now he's lost it again right afterwards to the charging Paul Tracy. And we're just talking a little bit there about the blocking move by Junqueira, and the fact that he then moved over and let PT go past in the drivers' meeting yesterday as a result of various, let's say, controversial incidents last week in Houston, where several drivers complained of being held up, being with obstructive moves ahead of them to keep them behind. The drivers all went to the race director Tony Cotman yesterday in the drivers' meeting and said, hey, we're quite happy with this rule. We think it's a good rule for the fans, for us, for everybody. Let's have a zero tolerance. If there's no blocking a line, then there's no ifs, ands or buts. If you determine it's a block, then it's a block and the penalty will be served.
I need to correct myself here. I said AJ was on blacks. He actually changed that call last minute and stuck with the reds. We see a replay here of the block from Junkie to PT. Very wise of Bruno to just move over on the exit of that corner. But like I was saying, AJ is on the red, so Sebastian's the only guy in the top 4 that we know for sure is still on the black tires.
I think he is, that's right. So we're going to try and have a word with Neil Micklewright in Paul Tracy's pit for the Forsyth Championship Racing entry. But certainly a good call there. It was interesting, of course, 1 year
Back
ago.
with Neil Micklewright. You gave Paul a full tank of fuel. He wanted to know why you didn't short fuel maybe to pick up position. What's the answer?
Basically, the answer is that at the first stint, running where we were, the only way to get an accurate fuel number for the fuel that's been used is to fill it right up. We got another stop later. We can short fill if that's what we elect to do. We didn't feel that it would be much of an impediment. It lost us a spot, but he got that back.
See if it hangs together.
We're hearing from race control that there will be a drive-through penalty on car number 2. That is Bruno Junqueira for that block on Paul Tracy. So even though Junqueira let Tracy past, we hear that a penalty is going to be called on car number 2. That's an interesting call, and I know I was speaking to Tony Cotman about this just earlier today, and he was telling me about how the drivers are absolutely adamant that if you call it, if you say it's a block, and you're going to have to call that penalty.
Yeah, it's an interesting call by Chamcar, but I mean, he did block. I guess letting PT by was just too little too late for Bruno, so that's definitely gonna put his race in jeopardy. He'll now no longer be in contention for a podium, having to do a drive-through penalty. Really unfortunate, but you did the crime. You gotta save them.
There is the black flag. So again, there's going to have to be some more clarifications there. But as Tony said, I'll do whatever the drivers want me to do. If they want me to call these penalties, no ifs, ands or buts, that's what I will do. Well, this is an if, and or but, isn't it? I mean, he let him pass. So if I let him pass, do I get away with it? Well, clearly right now the answer is no.
But in all honesty, I don't even know why Bruno was on that side of the track and that far over. I mean, it wasn't like he was leaning on Paul. Paul had to go to the outside. There was just no room. So a really, really blatant move there by Bruno. And despite giving the position back, he's going to have to serve the penalty. So it just proves that Chamcar and Tony Cotman up there in race control, they are not taking any funny games from these drivers. You break a rule, you will serve the penalty. You cannot take justice into your own hands and try and let the driver back. You are going to serve the penalty that you deserve to be served.
You're absolutely right, James Hinchcliffe. And as Tony Cotman was telling me earlier on today, that is exactly what he understands the drivers want. He makes a call, they have to stand by that call. So here is the order. Justin Wilson edging away just a little bit from his teammate AJ Allmendinger. In third place is Sebastian Bourdais. In fourth is Paul Tracy. Junkie still in fifth. Of course, Junkie won this race 1 year ago. Alex Tagliani hanging on as best he can in sixth. And then in seventh now is Mario Dominguez, who has gotten past Oriol Servia. So that was a change of position during that first round of pit stops. Will Power is still the best pacer of the rookies in ninth place. And here is Junqueira on pit lane to serve that drive-through penalty.
Really unfortunate. He's got to come through here at the 50 mile an hour rather, speed limit all the way down pit lane. And it's a long, long pit lane here at Fernandor Park. Unlike Houston, which was very narrow and rather short, this track here has a nice wide, very long pit straight. So that's going to hurt Bruno even more than it could have at a different racetrack.
It certainly is a big blow to Bruno Junqueira. Big disappointment for him. Of course, he's driving with so much passion this year. He missed virtually all of last year. He came here to Monterrey 1 year ago. He won the motor race. He led the Champ Car World Series point standings. He then went off and raced in Indianapolis, and unfortunately was involved in a massive wreck. He tangled with a very inattentive back marker. He hit the wall absolutely head on. It broke 2 bones in his lower back. He was out for the entire season, and that was such a disappointment for the guy. He'd finished as runner-up in the championship. in the Champ Car World Series each of the 3 previous years. There he is leading the championship, and what he believes was his best shot to win it thus far in his career was taken away from him. So this year he came in and he wanted nothing more than to win the championship. Of course, he's driving with pretty much a new relaxed confidence this year, but thus far things just not going his way.
Yeah, last year Bruno really felt like it was his year. He got off to a really strong start, like you said, had the win here in Monterrey, leading the championship points race, and then had that really just tragic accident at Indy. It's things like that that really creep me out about ovals, because it was not his fault. It was in the hands of someone else, and it put him out for the entire season. Could have very well ended his career. So it's great to see that he made a full recovery, and he's coming back strong, and really wants to do well this year.
He does, and as he said, he's not he's just going to take every race as it comes. He said, I'm focused on having fun, and the rest will take care of itself. That was his quote coming into the season. And right now he stands in the point standings. He is way down in 13th place, of course, because he was involved in that first corner accident at Long Beach, and then last weekend also in Houston had more misfortune there when he ran him out of fuel before the second round of pit stop. So nothing yet this season has gone Bruno's way.
It's not a fairy tale start yet for Bruno, but there's still a lot of racing to do, and he knows he's got a quick car. He's got a quick teammate, though. That's one of his biggest things to worry about so far this season. But since his accident, I've talked to a lot of drivers who told me that Bruno's whole composure and his whole character and his attitude towards racing and towards life changed so much after his accident. Like you say, he's a much more relaxed guy, and like his quote said, he's just in it for fun now. He's living life every day, and he realizes he's got a sweet deal. He races cars for a living, and he's just going to enjoy it. He used to be really competitive, and it's not that he's lost that competitive edge, but I think he just appreciates where he is a little bit more, and hopefully that'll just in turn make him more relaxed and help him drive better.
Have a look at the rear wing on car number 9 here, the leading car of Justin Wilson. The wicker bill there, the gurney flap on the top edge of the wing, it sort of bends forward over the top of the wing on the right hand side of the car. Seems to be just coming away a little bit. That's going to be interesting to see if that will affect the handling balance of this car. It's awfully difficult to get a look at it, but it's just above the number 9 there on the rear wing of Justin's car. It's difficult to see from that picture, isn't it? But we're hearing that there might be a little bit of separation there. Not quite sure why that will be, but it's certainly not going to help the cause of Justin Wilson, who's leading this motor race with 33 laps in the books.
After the first decisive stages, the Giro is...
Watching Bruno Junqueira, he's running in the 13th place right now behind Jan Halen. Charles Waltzman just made his way past the Belgian into 11th place. Waltzman now 11th, Halen 12th, and then Bruno Junqueira behind those two. That bump again as they go into turn 6. Behind Junqueira is Nicky Pastorelli. He served a penalty earlier in this race as well. So there are the two guys who've served penalties in 13th and 14th. Behind them, Catherine Legg, clearly struggling again this afternoon with that car number 20, but she's still running in 15th place, and behind her is Dan Clark. The only driver out of the race thus far is Nelson Philippe, and here comes Bruno Junqueira. Finally he makes that pass down the inside, a good clean pass into turn 10.
Yeah, he really needed to get that done. There's no doubt that Jan Halen was holding up Bruno a little bit.
And he used the power to pass to do so.
I was just going to say, he used it when he needed to, and he got by when he needed to. If he had spent any more time behind him, he's just going to keep losing more and more time to Charles Waltzman, who's ahead of him. But there's a great battle going on in 7th, 8th, 9th. Oriel Serbia, Will Power, Andrew Ranger. They were covered last time by just a little over a second, those 3 cars. So they all have quite a bit of push to pass. Actually, Power's on it right now, trying to maybe make a move on Serbia. Now, we're not looking at that battle just at this moment, but it'll be interesting to see if he pulled that off. It's a really close battle, and everybody's got a lot of push to pass left, so it'll be interesting to see if anyone can make some moves.
And talking to car number 5, Will Power, we're here. He just glanced the wall coming out of turn 12. That's the final corner onto the pit straight. And you were saying earlier on, James Hitchcliffe, how you try and use every inch of racetrack right up to that wall. And apparently he might have stepped in. Let's have a look here. This is a replay of the restart. Dan Clark out of the way. There is Allmendinger looking down the inside of Sebastian Bourdais. He runs a little bit wide in turn 1, and AJ takes full advantage going into turn 2. Great onboard shots.
Just a brilliant move there. Sebastian really had to check up and go really wide to avoid AJ there, and he just didn't get the run through. AJ was able to get back to Power and be a bit later on the brakes and make the move on the outside into corner 2. Great driving by AJ.
Here we are now back live, 36 laps in the books. This is Justin Wilson, car number 9, the CCWS car of the Roux Sport team, out in front of this race, but not by much. You can see his teammate AJ Allmendinger right there, the yellow and white car in second place, and right behind them too, the car number 1, the defending series champion, two-time defending series champion, Sebastian Bourdais. So even though they're running the softer tyres, the Roux Sport guys not able to pull away.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems like both here and last week at Houston, we saw the Reds really didn't have the advantage that they normally do, or even really supposed to. They are supposed to be the softer compound, supposed to give the cars a little bit more of an edge. Now, I don't know if that just means that Sebastian's got a better balance on these black tires, or maybe he's just found a little bit more speed in the car. He's that quick, and when he puts on his Reds in the next stint, he'll be able to take off from the rest of them.
Yeah, but then of course he's got to make the pass, so that's going to be interesting. You've got to get past not one Roux Sport car, but two at this stage. But as you say, he's really dogging the wheel tracks of AJ Allmendinger. That battle for second and third is really heating up. There goes Justin Wilson, and finally he begins to take full advantage of these red sidewall tyres. The fastest lap of the race thus far, set by Justin Wilson on lap 37, 1 minute 16.015.
Reporting a little bit of right front brake lockup on that lap, and that's why AJ lost a little bit of time. They said they're not worried about it. They have a perfect car.
There is the brain trust of the Roux Sport team, Carl Russo on the left, the team owner Jeremy Dale, the team president on the right there. Jeremy Dale, a pretty accomplished racer in his own right, with a very top driver in open wheel cars and then in sports cars, and he had a horrific accident at Road Atlanta, 10-12 years ago. Badly broke both of his legs. That ended his racing career, but not his motor racing career, and here he is as the team president for the Roux Sport team, and it's really is a top-notch organisation, and it shows right here this afternoon with their cars running in first and second places. We heard there from the pits that AJ locked up the tyres a little bit on that last lap. He certainly lost a little bit of ground to Justin Wilson, and we'll see when they come past the start-finish line one more time whether he's managed to get back up onto the pace. Another quick lap there from Justin Wilson, 1 minute 16.2, and AJ Allmendinger just a couple of tenths slower and a good half second or more quicker than his previous lap.
Yeah, Justin's doing a great job. I mean, the gap's now the biggest it has been, I think, for the entire race at 2.8 seconds. Sebastian was able to stay right on AJ. He said he made a little mistake there, which would have allowed him to catch up. But either way, both Roux Sport cars are just doing a phenomenal job at this very tricky racetrack.
So a lot of the drivers complaining we hear of braking issues in the middle stages of this race. 38 laps down, 38 laps to go. Again, here's a look at that battle for 7th, 8th and 9th. Oriol Servia, Andrew Ranger, the tied car right behind. Right behind Ranger is Will Power. So that battle is raging there. 7th, 8th and 9th on board here with Andrew Ranger. And it was here at this racetrack, as we said already this afternoon, 1 year ago. He had a brilliant run, particularly in the second half of that race. Came from pretty much nowhere. He qualified 14th, finished second. That remains the only podium finish so far for the MyJack Conquest Racing team. Right now, though, he's still got a bit of work to do. He's down in 8th place at the moment, but having started in 13th, Andrew Ranger once again is making great progress in the race.
He's on the way up, and he, like you say, he was quickest in the second half of the race last year, so we still have that part coming up. But he's doing a great job. Really talented Canadian. He had his first podium and the team's first podium, and only podium for both of them, but I got a good feeling it won't be Andrew's last podium.
I think you're right, hopefully not, certainly, because as we've said already, he did come into this season with just a 3-race deal, but we got some new sponsorship from Tide, which was also with him several races last year, and the GoldenPalace.net as well, supporting that MyJack Conquest Racing team. And after such a strong start to the season, 4th place in the points, certainly everybody on the team hopes that Andrew Ranger will be able to continue in that car for the remainder of the season.
Another car that's running pretty well is Cristiano D'Amata. He's up into the 10th place right now in the Dale Coyne entry, and he's running lap times considerably faster than, somewhat faster than the cars in front of him, and as fast as cars as high as 6. So he's got a pretty quick race car under him. It might be up to a little bit of on-track moves and a little bit of pit strategy to maybe move him up a little bit higher, because he's got the pace, and it'd be great to see Cristiano have a good finish here in Thunderdora Park.
So there is the Mexican hero, Mario Dominguez. He's in 6th place right now, and it's a pretty good run for him. Certainly had a big boost to his confidence 1 week ago in Houston. He gained the first pole of his career in his 66th start. Yeah, okay, he didn't make it count. He wasn't able to translate that into a victory because in the relatively late stages, under pressure from Sebastian Bourdais, he slid down into an escape road, so he had to make do with a 3rd place finish, but he certainly came into here with very high expectations, and he is one of a bunch of drivers who was pretty disappointed after qualifying, but still there's a long way to go in this race. He's in the top 6 right now, and as I say, plenty of time to make some progress from there, but in order to do so, he's going to have to catch up with these 3. We can see that Justin Wilson, the gap over AJ Allmendinger and this man Sebastian Bourdais, the gap from 1st to 2nd is 2.5 seconds, and Bourdais pretty much keeping pace with those 2. AJ has just turned the fastest lap of the race, however, last time around. The first man into the 1 minute 15s, 1:15.881. Bourdais also turned his best lap at a 1:16.112, so almost just over 0.2 of a second. AJ pulled out over Bourdais last time around, but as you can see, the gap still isn't very much.
Rubber going down on the track, fuel tank's getting a bit lighter, and these lap times are falling. Like you say, AJ did a great job of getting the 1:15s there. That's a really, really quick, well put together lap. He backs it up this lap with a 1:16.1, so not that far off his quick lap pace. If he can just run these fast, consistent laps, he might be able to at least maintain the gap to Justin, not let Justin get any further ahead. If he gets a yellow, good pit strategy, he can be right there, and maybe, knock on wood, take that first champ car.
So is that the advantage of the red sidewall tires? Well, no, apparently not, because Sebastian Bourdais has fought back last time around. He sets the fastest lap of the race on lap 41, 1 minute 15.884. So that points for fastest lap, of course. At the end of the race, whoever does set that fastest lap has an extra championship point. And right now, it's going the way of Sebastian Bourdais. But as I've said, we're only 41 laps into this 76 lap race, and I know there's going to be a lot more improvements in the final stages of this motor race.
And that's great. And Sebastian still has one set of red tires he can put on, and they're having this little battle there. I want fastest lap. No, I want that point. Give me that point. The 3 of them is going at it. It's great. I mean, they might not be dicing for the position physically on track, but they are fighting hard and racing each other for the bragging rights of fastest lap right now.
Great to see, and other guys turning quick laps down the order as well. Charles Waltzman just turned his best lap so far, 1:16.8, so yes, a second slower than the race leaders, but still a very good lap by Charles Waltzman, the last year's Atlantic champion, and he is fighting for his life and trying to stay ahead of Bruno Junqueira, and he is managing to do that. There's a gap of about 1.2 seconds between Zaltzman's car number 34 and Junkie in 12th place, and those 2 are getting closer and closer now to that battle between Oriol Servia, Andrew Ranger and Will Power, and then Cristiano D'Amata as well, who is rounding out the top 10 at this stage.
Yeah, Will Power still running in 9th, doing a good job behind Andrew Ranger there. He's got Cristiano D'Amata behind him, about 2 seconds back. Power saying that he wants to be on the black tires next time in. He wants to come in, next pit stop, put the blacks on the car and see how the balance is on those tires. He's running on the reds right now, and he's doing a very good job at 9th place. The top rookie, and he's keeping Andrew Ranger very honest, and he's not far behind Oriol Servia either.
So there goes Justin Wilson on lap 43, about a 2.3 second lead, so that gap staying pretty constant, I'd say, 2.5 seconds or so between Wilson and Allmendinger. Pretty consistent laps by those guys in the low 1 minute 60 second range now. They seem to have settled out. Bourdais in 3rd place. The man in 4th there, Paul Tracy, he is now 8 seconds farther back, and he is complaining that the grip has gone away from that car.
Yeah, Tracy really started to struggle after that pit stop there, which is unfortunate. They had an alright stop. They actually lost the position. They got it back from Bruno, and he just has not been able to keep pace with these leaders. These 3 guys in front are running really, really quick lap times. Paul somewhere like a second off the pace for the consistent lap times from these 3 leading drivers who keep switching fastest lap between them. So I'm not sure if maybe bad batch, maybe the balance of the car's gone off a little bit, but either way, Paul's struggling. He's gonna have to pull some kind of PT magic to get it back up to the front of this one.
Joe Barbieri, the project leader for Bridgestone Motorsport, is down in the pit lane. We're going to try and have a word with him in a moment to tell us about this new range of Bridgestone Potenza tires brought to this race, both the blacks and the red sidewall tires. Here, though, is that battle between Jan Halen and Nicky Pastorelli for 13th and 14th. And at the early stage of this race, we saw that Pastorelli was served a drive-through penalty for blocking, and Jan Halen came pretty close to doing the same thing. So we'll have to see how this battle goes.
Yeah, Nicky got that the black flag for blocking Speedy Dan, who, although the last car on track, he's living up to his name. He's got the 4th fastest lap of the race right now.
Down here with Joe Barbieri, the manager of motorsports for Bridgestone Tires. And Joe, with a 132-degree racetrack, I'll bet you're learning a lot about these racing tires today.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, we've been down here quite a bit before, so we planned for this type of heat. It's still probably even going to get hotter than that, but the Reds are holding up very well on that first stint. We expect the same thing out of the primaries when the Bridgestone tires get out there again.
Now you'll take what you learned today and perhaps go into more research and development for the next generation of Bridgestone tires.
Absolutely. Our Bridgestone engineers are constantly working to help develop these tires for making the better racing for all of us.
Thanks a lot. And as you can see, Joe is about to go to his Bridgestone Reds.
So thanks to the pit lane there, and back to the action. We've seen this battle for 13th, 14th and 15th places. It's Jan Halen, Nicky Pastorelli and Catherine Legg. And just out of the picture, they came down to start and finish straight away, was Speedy Dan Clark, who is, as you say, James Hinchcliffe, turning a series of very fast laps, 16.172, the 4th quickest lap. Only Wilson, Allmendinger and Bourdais have gone quicker after 44 laps. So there's no doubt that Dan has the speed. He just needs a bit of consistency and a bit of self-control, I think, and then he will be a real contender in this Champ Car World Series. 45 laps in the books in Mexico. Justin Wilson. Here is this battle for second place. Justin Wilson still his lead of around about 2.3 seconds over AJ Allmendinger and Sebastian Bourdais, battling tooth and nail over second place. We haven't seen Bourdais really challenge the place, but he's putting all the pressure on James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. He's got a good car beneath him. He's reporting back to the pits that the balance of the car is very good. He'd like a little bit more grip, but hey, wouldn't we all? I mean, that's just the way this... Oh, big loose there from Sebastian. Looks like he got a little bit on that second curb, kicked the back end out a little bit. He's running AJ down well. He just needs to keep it calm, consistent, and try and wait for the pit stops maybe.
Now, watching through practice and qualifying this weekend, yes, Bourdais has been blindingly quick, as he is always, it seems, these days, in that car number 1, the defending champion too. Down to the pit lane.
Are things well in hand? Do you think you're going to be able to get to the front?
Honestly, I think the fact that we got blocked by that lap down car or whatever on the restart and lost the position to AJ, that was not a good thing. Winning this now is going to be really hard. I would have liked our chances just hanging with Justin, but AJ's not as fast as Justin, and now we're maybe a little stuck.
A very telling statement from Craig Hansen.
Well, that was the race engineer for Sebastian Bourdais, claiming that Sebastian Bourdais was held up by Speedy Dan Clark at the restart there. I don't know about that one.
I thought Dan did a pretty good job actually getting out of the way. I mean, he elected not to pit there to try and get one of his laps back, but no, he stayed very much offline. As we look at the replay now here, see Dan goes by on the left, on the right-hand side of your screen, driver's left, and both Sebastian and AJ had lanes to work with. It's not like Sebastian was horribly offline, nothing more than Justin was. They all had to deal with it. So I don't know if I really agree with Craig's comment there.
I absolutely don't agree with Craig's comment there. Craig is certainly, he's like everybody in this sport, he is very passionate about his guy, about his driver. He wants his man to do as best as he possibly can. And so, of course, does Sebastian Bourdais. But in that instance, certainly Clark didn't do anything wrong. And he accelerated, he kept pace with the race leader coming down here. He kept right over to the left-hand side of the racetrack, which, yes, is the racing line, but that is what, as a quicker guy, when you're passing a slower guy, you want the slower guy to stay on the racing line. It's up to you to find a way past him.
Now we're here looking at PT in the Index Forsyth car. It looks like we're getting word that Paul might actually be pitting. Really unhappy with the balance he has on these red Bridgestones. He might be coming in, trying to make a pit stop, get back onto blacks.
Is he on blacks now or reds?
He's on reds right now, but he's not liking the balance with these red tires. Right. He wants blacks. I think you can expect Tracy to be pitting this time by.
I think we just saw Bruno Junqueira onto pit lane as well. So I think the window is now open for the drivers to be able to make a pit stop now and get to the finish without having another visit to pit lane. Bruno Junqueira is the first of the drivers to take advantage of that.
You're no better than we do on them, so we're just going to pit here and round about 4 laps.
That was Neil Micklewright there, the Vice President of Operations for Forsyth Championship Racing, on the phone to Paul Tracy saying, basically up to you, didn't he?
Yeah, but he said, Paul, you know better than we do. You're in the car, you know what it's doing. So it looks like they're actually going to stay for a few more laps. Paul's car seems to have gone to oversteer. You saw it a little bit going into one, a little bit coming out of two.
Charles Walton
stop happening right now. My Jack crew hard at work. Bridgestone Red's going on that car as he just waits. Jackman puts the car down. Left front tire changer says go. Very clean pit stop from the My Jack crew.
Yes, indeed. Excellent work by those guys. And they have what they hope is their final pit stop of the day. So that will elevate Jan Halen into 11th place behind his Delcoin Racing teammate Cristiano de Matta. Halen actually qualified ahead of Cristiano. An excellent job the Belgian did in qualifying this afternoon. It is de Matta who's got very much the upper hand. But there is Charles Walsh. You can see him there slithering and sliding around. Again, no tyre warmers and 750 horsepower. That's a handful coming out of the pit lane.
That's a handful on the grippiest of surfaces, and you put them here on this track here in Monterrey where there's very, very little natural grip, no adhesion in the tires when they're that cold. Very, very difficult to navigate these cars around this track when the tires are cold. It's just, like you say, 750 horsepower coming out of these Ford Cosworth motors. It's quite a challenge on the best of days.
Tracy seems to have picked up his pace just a little bit the last few laps. His last time around it was a 16.9, the 1 minute 16.9. The previous lap, a 1 minute 16.6, which was only a couple or 3/10 slower than the race leaders are going. Also, a lap or two ago, Alex Tagliani down into the 1 minute 15s, a 1 minute 15.880, and that is only 16 thousandths of a second away from the fastest lap of the race set so far by Sebastian Bourdais. So Tagliani now beginning to turn on the speed for Team Australia.
Yeah, that was a really quick lap from Tag. I mean, that's really impressive. I think that it's probably on an in lap. He really wants a good run. You want to set some time, some good laps right before your pit stops, and then again right out on full tires.
I think he might have frightened himself because the next time around was a 17.6, so he lost more than a second almost a second next time around. There, Sebastian Bourdais, you can see that he has just set a new fastest lap, 15.840. So Bourdais going quicker and quicker, and here we are now. This is interesting. There is Bruno Junqueira almost one lap down, and there is Justin Wilson, the race leader, and hats off there to Junqueira. He lets Wilson clear passage going down on the inside line into turn 5.
Yeah, it would have been so easy there for Bruno to play the teammate and try and keep Justin behind him for as long as he could, but he did the right move. He went straight at that hairpin, let Justin take the inside line, and tried to not impede this motor race at all.
And that's a class act by Bruno Junqueira. As you say, he's already had a penalty. He's really out of contention for the win. If he'd got another penalty for blocking there, well, who cares? Because as far as the team is concerned, his race is pretty much already shot. But my hat is off to Bruno Junqueira, as it was, I should say, on Friday, because on Friday there was a bit of jockeying going on in the pit lane during that first qualifying session between the Newman Haas and Rousport teams, whether they were going to run red tyres or black tyres for their final run in the first day of qualifying. Well, Bourdais went out on the black tyres, and a moment or two later the Rousport team elected to put red tyres on Wilson's car, so he went out there to try and get that provisional pole. Well, there was then a red flag stoppage, and when they restarted there was only about 3 minutes to go to the end of the session, and it was Wilson on a quick lap, and Junqueira was again with the guy in front of him, and he pulled out to let him go. But here though is Paul Tracy, a fourth place car. He's been struggling on these red sidewall tyres. He is in to make his final pit stop of the day.
It'll be interesting to see this Forsyth crew really going to pit stops. Always one of the fastest on pit lane, and this is going to be when it really counts. They didn't quite get the job done the first stop under yellow. He actually lost his position to the Newman Haas guys, and Bruno Junqueira waiting for it, really trying to get as much fuel in that car as they can. And it's out. PT's out. Good stop there.
Good stop there. Steve Moore and the boys there leading that crew, and the fueler, Robbie Page, is a regular fueler on that car. Well, Robbie had a problem on Friday. His back just went out, and I can sympathise with it. I have back problems myself. Robbie unable to take his usual fueling position for this race. Mark Bruce stepping into the breach this weekend, and clearly a good pit stop it seemed like there for Paul Tracy, and now it's up to PT to try and get that pace back and move up from that fourth position. Yeah. And of course now, if there now is a full course yellow, the pits will be closed, and anybody who's already made a pit stop is in great shape. Here is AJ Allmendinger. He doesn't want to get caught out. He is on pit lane, as is Jan Halen for Dale Coyne Racing.
Now it's all up to the Roosport boys to try and match what Forsyth were able to do. Obviously they did a great job gelling, having lost Robbie there. We all wish him a speedy recovery. They got the fuel hose on. Looked like a good quick stop from the Roosport cars, and AJ's back on his way.
That did look like a very good stop by Art Kilgore's guys there. Difficult name to these guys, I can tell you. But a great stop by Roosport, and AJ, he ducks in out of second place, so that gives a position to Sebastian Bourdais now with a clear track in front of him. What can Sebastian do?
Sebastian running right now about 3.5 seconds behind Justin. Both of them are pretty comparable lap times. Justin's still moderately quicker as we see Dominguez there go on the inside in corner 5.
And again, Allmendinger on cold tyres and Dominguez on hot tyres, and Allmendinger again does the smart move, getting out of the way. He might lose half a second by letting him pass, but at least it's not going to be any worse than that.
It's not. Oh, Ranger going a bit wide there. It's not even so much the half second lose, let him out of the way though. It's when AJ gets back up to speed. He's now got Mario Dominguez in front of him. He's got to contend with until Mario makes his pit stop. You see a replay there. Mario gets in there. You know, it's a good move by Mario trying to get AJ behind him because he knows that AJ's got a quick car. He's been faster all weekend, so if he can keep him behind him now, it's all now up to AJ to try and make that pass on track when his tires are up to temperature.
And here we are on board with the Roche France car number 7 of Mario Dominguez. Of course, Dominguez is on hot tires and a almost empty tank of fuel, so he's turning some quick laps here and able to pull away now from AJ, who's on cold tires and a full tank of fuel. So that car weighs almost 200 pounds more than Mario Dominguez. So Mario able to make that weight difference tell at this stage in the race. But there's Sebastian Bourdais. Well, we're on board with Justin Wilson, but looming in his mirrors is Bourdais. 15.423, a new fastest lap by the second place car.
Absolutely blistering pace by Sebastian. He is wasting no time at all to try and catch it up. This is the laps that it really matters when it's green flag pit stops. You're in laps, you're out laps. Justin doubles in there. All right, now it's up to the Roosport cars. It looks like Justin might have been held up a bit there by that Aussie Vineyards car, which would not have helped. Bourdais staying out for another lap. He's going to have to contend with the traffic now on his in-lap, providing he's coming in this lap, which is going to be very crucial. So now it's down to the Roosport crew. Let's see what they can do.
Here comes the strategy now. So Wilson's guys are here ready. He will switch to the black sidewall tyres. We'd heard that Bourdais was going to come in on the same lap. He didn't. He turned a 1 minute 15.338 second as he flashed across the line to take the lead of the race. But there goes Justin Wilson. His stop is complete. Now he's going to turn a blinding outlap in order to be able to maintain his advantage over Sebastian Bourdais. And Bourdais is flying.
We got Mario Dominguez in the pits now. We're on board with him, and Sebastian's going to be coming in very soon afterwards. Another good stop from the guys from Forsyth. Hopefully he can get Mario another position or two. He really wants to do well here, this being his home race. Pulls it in, hits the marks, and the guys go to work.
That's Jason Weatherford on the boys there on car number 7. All 4 tyres. He will go to the red stripe tyres, waiting for the last bit of fuel there. That's Chris Muir on the fuel, and away goes that car. Great stop by the Forsyth Championship Racing team, and we're waiting now for Sebastian Bourdais to pull onto pit lane. And here he is. He's just pulling in. There is Mario Dominguez rejoining the motor race, and Sebastian Bourdais is on pit lane at the regulation 50-mile-an-hour speed limit. This is going to determine the outcome of this race. Another very quick in-lap by Sebastian Bourdais, and he's going to take only as much fuel as he needs to get to the end of the motor race, and that'll probably save him about 0.2 of a second because he needs 1 less lap's worth of fuel than did Justin Wilson. But we're just waiting for
really quick stop there from the guys at Newman Haas. Now we're just looking down the front straight to see where Justin comes out. He's coming out now. He's going through corner 1. It looks like Sebastian's retained the lead, but Justin gets held up by Dan Clark there coming through the first 2 corners. That is not going to help his cause at all.
No, but there Clark moves right out of the way, and so that was not a significant factor there. That was just great work by Sebastian Bourdais. A brilliant couple of laps before that pit stop. Great work by the team on pit lane, and that was just textbook stuff for Newman House Racing, and once again the advantage goes to car number 1, and it's Justin Wilson who has to play chase.
Justin Wilson, yeah, now he's on the attack.
Well, what's interesting, of course, now is that Bourdais is on cold tyres, and Wilson has at least 1 lap of temperature into his tyres. Can he now make the move? He's got to be into the next corner. He will now use, I am sure, the push to pass. He has to get on the power coming out of turn 8 through turn 9, and he's not close enough, is he?
No, he's not yet, but there's still hope, because it does take it around this track. Because the grip is so low, it takes a little bit longer for these tires to come in, as Justin takes a ton of curb entering turn 10 here, through the long turn 11, going through turn 12, big bump in the middle, get on the power to pass button, try and close this gap, and you have to make this move early if it's going to stick, but it just doesn't look like he's got the speed right now at this point in the race.
Now we're hearing from the pits that maybe Wilson's team put a little bit more fuel into their car, and that Bourdais guys cut it as fine as they possibly could. I don't know whether that's just posturing from the pit lane, but the theory is, at least from the Roostboard angle, that they've given their guy a little bit more fuel, so he has no fuel concerns. He can go for it as fast as he possibly can and try and wrest away that advantage once again from Sebastian Bourdais. But I don't really buy that myself, quite frankly. I think that's posturing. I think both teams know exactly how to win motor races, and the way to win motor races is spend as little time as possible on the pit lane.
Yeah, but Justin will have really enjoyed the call from the pit saying, you've got the fuel, you don't have to conserve, go, push, 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 try and catch Sebastian, try and get by him. It's all really in Justin's hands now, as Sebastian has to deal with lap traffic here, getting held up.
Whoa, look at that slide there. Look at this. Justin Wilson has a run, and look at that. What's happening? He's looking to the inside, but he's not close. I think that was that Catherine Legg? I believe it was. It was Catherine who tried to get out of the way, but there wasn't much he could do, and Sebastian Bourdais got a big slide coming out of turn 9, but he was just able to maintain that advantage. Wow, that was exciting.
Oh, that was close, and Justin, he got on his power to pass there to try and make that move, but it just wasn't enough. He's down to 22 seconds to Bourdais, 41 left with the power to pass. Really close call there. Unfortunately, Justin just wasn't close enough to make that move stick.
He wasn't. That could be the turning point of this motor race, I fancy, because now, as you can see, the red sidewall tyres on the car number 1 of Sebastian Bourdais. He has the lead, he has the softer tyres, he has the advantage, no doubt about it. And Justin Wilson, he's going to be pressing as hard as he can. He was so disappointed yesterday not to grab the pole position. He knew it was in the car. Here's a replay of Sebastian Bourdais going around the outside there of Catherine Legg, and we can see on the left of the screen Justin Wilson, he thinks about looking to the inside, but Bourdais just held him off.
He's really kind of lucky there, because you see Sebastian, even though he's already passed Catherine, makes a little bit of a move to the left, which could have been classified as blocking, except there's a massive bump, and you see Justin's on the straightaway right now, and all the drivers all weekend avoiding it, so technically Sebastian did not deviate from his racing line at all. He was on it, even though it did look like a little bit of a lean on Justin Wilson.
Very, very good point. Here's a replay of this crucial final pit stop here. There's Norm Hornacek and the boys there. Norm is on the outside front tyre, the right-hand side of the screen. You can see how quickly those front tyres have changed. And it's Mike Hartgraves there who gives it, the air jack guy, who gives a final push to get him out of the pit lane. And Mike, there's no more enthusiastic pitman than Mike Hartgraves, and he just gave that little bit of an extra push to get Bourdais off down the pit lane and back into the motor race, and then Sebastian did the rest.
Yeah, Sebastian's just doing a phenomenal job. He really laid it down in those in laps when he had to. Like you said before, he knows how to win motor races. That pit crew knows how to win motor races, and these guys are showing why they've got the number 1 on their nose of their car for this entire season.
So the fastest lap of the race does stand to the race leader, Sebastian Bourdais, 1 minute 15.338. That's only about 3/10 slower than his track record, or race lap record, I should say, set a couple of years ago. We're on board with Justin Wilson, and we can see that McDonald's car disappearing a little bit into the distance, isn't it, James?
That dot's getting a little bit smaller every single lap, which is it's unfortunate. It means we're not going to have a nice close photo finish in this one, I don't think. Sebastian seems to have this one pretty much under control with just 17 laps to go. But like I said before, this is a very easy track track to make a mistake on, but I mean, come on, it's Sebastian. When was the last time he really just made a mistake?
Yeah, it doesn't make very many, does he? But having said that, he's made quite a few this weekend. We've seen him off, not big offs, no crashes or anything like that, but several times he's locked up the brakes, slid across the grass a little bit, little bobbles, I should say, out on the racetrack. But there's barely the hint of one this afternoon when it really matters.
When it counts, he lays it down, and he's just absolutely mistake free. But he's still pushing to the absolute limit. He's just got such an ability to bring every last tenth out of that car in every single lap, but never exceed that limit. Very rarely. I shouldn't say never. Everybody makes mistakes at some point, but at the end of the day, it's the guy who makes the fewest over the course of this 2-hour race. These 75 laps is probably going to come out on top.
Word from out on the track is that Jan Halen's had a problem, car number 11. The Birdcroft car of the Sunny Barbecues car machine, also of Dale Coyne Racing. Jan's done an excellent job this weekend. We hear that car is slow out on the racetrack.
We have another drink bottle dilemma. Last week in Houston, a drink bottle and a drink bottle motor actually caused Tag's throttle to stick, sending him into the wall in a very, very violent crash. Now we just got word that Paul Tracy went on and off the track very quickly in corner one, and we're seeing getting from the pits now that Tracy's drink system is malfunctioning, and it's actually spraying him with water in his helmet. That is never good. The team's told him to rip the hose out. You've only got 15 laps to go now. Rip the hose out. You don't need water. Put your head down and go.
His rears will go off. That was Kenny Seawick there on the radio to Sebastian Bourdais, suggesting to his man that even though Justin Wilson is turning some quick laps, and these two are just about trading lap times at the moment, 1 minute 15.1 last time around. The new fastest lap of the race by Sebastian Bourdais, 15.167, and Justin Wilson at 15.227. So he's not given up yet, Justin Wilson.
Yeah.
To round 3 of the Champ Car World Series. Today's race is being broadcast to over 170 countries around the world. We're delighted you could join us. I'm Jeremy Shaw with James Hinchcliffe. We've got 63 laps down and 13 laps to go here in Monterrey. We've seen a thrilling battle between Sebastian Bourdais and Justin Wilson. Whoa, there is Will Power running off the road there in turn 10 in his attempts to wrest away 10th place from Charles Zwartzman. Those two, the best placed rookies. Zwartzman in 10th and Power in 11th. That's a great little battle there. And right behind them also now is Bruno Junqueira after that earlier drive-through penalty when he was adjudged to have blocked AJ Allmendinger, wasn't it? Paul Tracy.
Yeah,
Paul Tracy, sorry.
It was really unfortunate. Bruno did do the block. He let Paul by, but Champ Car still found it necessary for them to penalize him, and fair enough. A little bit of rear lockup there from Royal Servia and the Gulfstream car heading into the corner 5 hairpin. So basically, since that penalty, Bruno's just been on damage control. So he's coming up quickly on the Will Power Charles Wolfsman battle for 10th and 11th, and I don't know if he'll have the time to catch up to and pass both of them.
So here's Oriol Servia, as you say, in the Gulfstream car, running in 8th place, and that right behind him is Cristiano D'Amata, the 2002 Champ Car World Series champion, and went off to race in Formula 1, and Servia has been struggling all weekend long, well, certainly all race long with that car. He qualified fairly respectably in 7th place, whereas Cristiano struggled in qualifying and had to make do with 12th place on the grid, but right now, Cristiano's car, that Dale Coyne Racing entry, is running pretty well, and he can't find a way past Oriol. In the meantime, at the front of the field, Sebastian Bourdais, a new fastest lap record here, race lap record, 1 minute 14.743, about 4/10 of a second quicker that time around than the second place car of Justin Wilson.
It's an absolute ripping pace, and Justin's doing a great job too. He just had his fastest lap at a 1:15.1, 4/10 slower rather than Sebastian. He's just getting so much out of his car right now, and I think he betters it still. Yes, he did a 1:14.529. Sebastian is just laying the gauntlet down, and here we go. Here's the battle. Dan Clark, Speedy Dan, and Catherine Legg. As we talked about, they've had their run-ins already this year. Dan, as we've seen, has had a very, very quick car. He still holds the 5th fastest lap of the race. Catherine, the 14th quickest. So Dan's definitely got the faster car. He's got a little bit of push to pass left. He's working with 25 seconds. It's all now up to... Oh, no, look at this.
Whoa, she use Catherine there, forced to use the push to pass in that very short straight between turn 2 and turn 3. She is desperate not to let Dan Clark pass. You know that Dan Clark is on the radio. She's blocking me. But this now is going to be. I'm sure he's going to be making a move in the next couple of laps. And Catherine's got to be careful here. She's got herself a little bit wound up by Dan Clark after their various run-ins this season. So she's got to play it smart here, and I have no doubt that she will, because she is a very smart cookie indeed, and she's got a big future in this sport. Here's a replay as they come round turn 1 and 2, and Catherine just got a little bit of a wobble coming off the corner. Dan got a great run, and there you can see at the back of Catherine's car that flashing red light. There it is, a flashing light, using that extra boost, but she seemed to be defending that inside position as well. So
that's going to be questionable. That's definitely under. That's gone up to video recall, and race control will be looking at that very closely to see what the call is. If I were Dan, I'd just be relaxed and calm. He knows he's got a quicker race car. He knows he can pass her on the track. He probably doesn't even need her to pit, but it would not surprise me if that call came, because that was a little bit of a move there from Catherine, a little bit of a deviation off the racing line, if you will.
I think so, and we hear officially from race control that incident, if you like, is being reviewed. Catherine does hold that position, but still 10 laps to go now to the end of this motor race, and Dan's got plenty of time. He's clearly got a faster car, it would appear, and now he's got to make his move and try and get down a clean pass down the inside. Catherine has got about 39 seconds worth left of the Cosworth power to pass, and Dan Clark has 25 seconds worth left, so both have plenty of time. And it's coming through here out of turn 7 down to this next corner, and then coming out of turn 8, the left-hander, a very fast sweeper flat out through turn 9. And if you can get the power on here, Dan Clark, maybe you can make that move.
She does that one more time, she's going to get black flag.
So there's the call to Dan in the pit, so keep the pressure on. If she does that one more time, she's going to get the black flag.
Interesting how they're giving her the one warning there. They were, obviously Bruno's incident was a lot more blatant, but they, you were saying that Tony Coleman was told by the drivers they want to see results, they want to see those calls made. So
it's blocking, we know it.
See, there you go. Dan Clark's crew chief there saying it's blocking and we know it, but unfortunately that doesn't help him on track. Dan just needs to keep his head down, play it smart. He knows he's got a good car. He just needs to set her up and make that pass happen.
Yeah, Tony Cotman, the race director, he wants to be consistent as well. He wants the drivers to be consistent in their demands of him, and he wants to make consistent calls. So I'm sure we'll do the right thing, but in the meantime, we're back to the race leaders, and as you can see, there's about a 3-second gap now between the first and second place cars. Sebastian Bourdais is out in front, and Justin Wilson is chasing for all he is worth, but it's Bourdais who has the advantage. He's also had the fastest lap of the race, as we've already said, a 1:14.529. That is more than half a second quicker than the race lap record set by himself a couple of years ago, and it's looking good as they come across the time, the start and finish line one more time. 8 laps to go for Sebastian Bourdais.
It's always nice beating your own record. It just really makes you feel good. I've got the record at this track, but hey, I can do better. It's a really good feeling, and Sebastian is just doing a phenomenal job. He's really ripping up this racetrack here in Fundadora Park. His time just slowed down a bit now. His last time by was a 15.7. The time before that was a 15.5. A second off his fastest lap. But Justin's doing no better. He did the last lap of 15.0. So he's closed the gap a little bit, down to 2.2 seconds now. But with only 8 laps remaining in this race, it's going to be near impossible for him to make that pass, even if he does catch it.
Did they cut that fuel too tight at Newman House Racing Pit, that last pit stop? We shall have to wait and see. We'll see what the next couple of laps bring us in terms of times. We'll bring those to you. In the meantime, Justin Wilson, AJ Allmendinger are both lapping there at around about 1:15.0 last time around. AJ in a very comfortable third place now. He's about 13 seconds behind his teammate and well clear, about 25 seconds clear of Paul Tracy in fourth place. Alex Tagliani, we haven't seen Tag and the Aussie Vineyards Walker Racing car, Team Australia car, hardly at all race, but he's running very nicely indeed in 5th place, and Tag has just done a great job this season for that outfit. And then in 6th place again is Mario Dominguez. Andrew Ranger pressing hard now after Mario, and Andrew Ranger up to 7th place. And at this stage in the proceedings, once again, looks like he will gain the extra bonus points for improving most positions from starting to the finishing
over there.
Yeah, all three of those drivers doing a really, really good job. Like you said, we haven't seen much or heard much of Tag, but he's doing a phenomenal job up there in 5th place for the Aussie Vineyards team, just running a consistent pace. He's got the 4th quickest lap of anybody right now, so he is where he should be. His speed is legitimate. Mario Dominguez, Super Mario, they're running in 6th. He was hoping for a little bit better here in his home crowd. Not quite on the same form that we saw last week in Houston. Again, really unfortunate that he threw that away.
Well, Sebastian Bourdais goes on to win this race. We'll look back to that last pit stop as being the turning point, but what you don't know is that that car was on fumes. Craig Hampson told me that the big concern was not the pit stop itself, but whether Sebastian was going to be able to get back to the pits to do it in the first place. Remember, last week, his teammate, Bruno Junqueira, ran out of fuel in Houston.
So there is Sebastian Bourdais, lap 70 now in the books, and again a 1 minute 15.5 that time around. And Justin Wilson, who clipped a couple of tenths off that lead last time around, but on this lap he made a mistake in turn 3. The report from race control: turn 3 off and on car number 9, and he lost a couple of seconds, and that could be the difference. Once again, that could be the difference. There's all sorts of things to turn the difference in this motor race, and a mistake there from Justin Wilson once again in turn 3, as it was in qualifying.
Yeah, he would have just pushed a little bit too hard there and had to have cut completely across the grass, which is really unfortunate for him. But it didn't look like he had much to give towards Sebastian near the end of this race. Anyway, we've just heard from race control now that the black flag will be given to car 20. Catherine Legg getting a penalty for that block on Dan Clark heading into corner 3 a few laps ago. Really unfortunate for Catherine. She had a pretty good run going here. Great race happening with her best friend Dan Clark there, and it's all coming to an end now because she will have to pit next time by and serve a drive-through penalty.
And that battle between Catherine Legg and Dan Clark, they both turned into very quick laps. They both turned their best laps of the race so far, actually, last time around. So Catherine's really stepping it up in her attempts to stay ahead of Dan. It's not going to work. The call has gone from race control, and she will be brought in for a penalty. But there is an incident between the two top rookies. Charles Walshman and Will Power have gotten together there. That was in turn 2, I believe. It was.
And it was in a car off track trying to avoid. That was Sebastian.
Right ahead of the race.
Sebastian had to go slightly off track to avoid Will Power there. That was not good at all. Last thing that he wants to see, with only 5 laps to go in this race, are back markers in front of him getting involved in an incident between each other and him being collected in it.
And the gap from first to second as they came across the line last time was only 3.2 seconds. Well, Justin had lost 2 seconds on that off with the previous lap. What a crucial mistake that might turn out to be. But look at that, Sebastian. He's got his way past both of those slower cars, and now Justin's got to find a way through as well. There's Claire Bourdais, I should say now, as you said earlier on, married a couple of weeks ago. There's that battle going on behind the race leader. Will Power dive into the inside. Here they are coming down through turn 1 and 2. Again, Power dives to the inside, and
it's a race across the grass.
Brilliant.
I'm Lawn Boy. No, I'm Lawn Boy. I can do it better. Oh, look at that. That is brilliant. Right across the Ducati sign, and that.
And watch this. That's Bruno Junqueira who gets past the both of them. That is 4th position. So Bruno will now move himself back up into the top 10, and still this battle rages, and it's Justin Wilson caught in the middle of them, and he's lost at least a couple of seconds that time around. The gap now out to 4.7. Charles the next one got there to let the leader through. Unfortunately, he also let Will Power through.
Oh, that's absolutely tragic. But right as we cut away to that replay, Power was having to look down the inside as Wilson going into 10, and we missed what happened in that exchange. But there you go. Justin Wilson comes through. Charles does the gentlemanly thing to let him by, but unfortunately sacrifices that position, so he will fall down now to 12th from 11th, and Will Power moves up to 11th and also moves up to take the claim as the top running rookie right now. That was, I don't know, tough luck and maybe not the best decision for Charles Wilson.
It looks like some steam coming out of a cockpit of a car as it came down pit lane. Oh no, it was Catherine Legg. I think it was the steam coming out of her ears as she came down pit lane to serve that drive-through penalty. Her battle with Dan Clark, she has to give best to that. She comes in to serve her penalty, and Dan Clark will go through into 13th place. Catherine will drop to 14th. And maybe actually lower than that, because Nicky Pastorelli is closing in as well.
Looking here at Wolfsman. Again, that was a big mistake from him. I mean, as much as it is the back markers, responsibility to get out of the way of the lapping cars, you got to look after yourself first. You got to look after number one. He was in a race 4 position there with Will Power, and that cost him that position. So really unfortunate there.
But hats off also to Will Power for being perfectly positioned to take advantage of that one slip by this man Charles Waltzman. And Will Power, he's done a super job since stepping into this Team Australia car. We're trying to have a word with Carl Russo of the Rousport team as his man watches that man Sebastian Bourdais in the lead of the motor race. And you can see here the two Newman Haas cars running absolutely together. Bruno Junqueira almost about to go 1 lap down to the race leader Sebastian Bourdais.
That's the last thing Bruno wants to see, is to go a lap down is brutal. To go a lap down your teammates even worse. So it's really unfortunate for Bruno, but he does the right thing, slows down to let Sebastian by. He goes through, and he seems to be very much in control of this motor race.
Going a lot of back markers, and they're all racing each other. They're trying pretty hard. I'm not sure they're too aware of who's behind them. We almost had a disaster there, so the guys do need to use their mirrors. But it's looking better now. Bruno just helped us out. He's a good teammate. And, well, it's been an up and down day, but right now it's working out. 2 more laps to go. We'll see what we got.
I can't find my notes as to how many cautions there were in this race 1 year ago, but I can tell you it was a lot. And this afternoon it's been an absolutely brilliant motor race, just the one relatively, well, fairly brief full course caution. Otherwise it's been flat out from start to finish. A real workout for these drivers, a very different race to what we had in Houston 1 week ago. There the cars are bucking around over the bumps. Here the drivers are fighting for grip on a very low grip surface. So once again the drivers are having a workout. There it is.
If it wasn't the case, you'd actually got enough fuel to go to the finish. Were you disappointed about something else in that final pit stop?
No, as a matter of fact, Justin came in. He came in a lap earlier than Sebastian, and what you saw was a classic. We passed him, he passed us back on fuel strategy. We filled the car with enough fuel to get it to the end. Hopefully we still got a lap to go, but Sebastian had a better fuel strategy than us.
Well, he played it all the way to fumes. We'll see how it plays out now.
Well, to play out well, hey, one quick thing. Tommy Lutz, we're riding with you, and Dave Kozar, congratulations on the kit. We'll see you next race.
Tommy Lutz there, that's Carl Russo touring. Tommy Lutz has had a benign tumour removed from the back of his neck before this weekend, so he's one of the crew guys not here this weekend. But the Rousport team again done a super job for both Justin Wilson and AJ Allmendinger. We're on board here with Mario Dominguez. That is a battle for 6th and 7th places. Andrew Ranger was behind, and he wants to make it 3 6th place finishes in a row to start off the season. But the man of the moment once again is Sebastian Bourdais. Here he comes. Well, that's Oriol Serbia coming through the final couple of corners with Cristiano Domana right behind him. But now through that Takagi turn one last time, and there are the waved double yellow flags for Sebastian Bourdais. It is win number 19 in his 48 race career. Just an amazing record. Whoa, that was, I think, was that
Serbia maybe?
Looked like it might have been Oriol Serbia there.
No, because he was actually behind. He's behind the Ranger Dominguez.
So we're on board here with Mario Dominguez.
It was Catherine Legge spun in corner 5 there.
A great battle going on there farther down the order, but we've had races all the way down the field. It's been a tremendous race here in Monterrey, and still we've got drivers fighting it out for position. There is Mario Dominguez, the Mexican hero, trying desperately to hold off Andrew Ranger.
Yeah, both of them have been on the push to pass. I mean, Dominguez he's got 4 seconds left. Ranger was on it down that whole straightaway trying to catch up. He's lost all passing opportunities now, short of Mario diving into the pits. I'm pretty sure it isn't going to happen. Ranger, he's going to have to settle for 7th, but I mean, two 6s and a 7th to start the season off. Not a bad way to get things going in that MyJack car. Great run for Ranger.
Yeah, great run for both of these two guys. They came into this weekend 2nd and 4th in the points. Dominguez 2nd and Ranger in 4th, and they will probably stay there. And I think actually Wilson will move back up into 2nd place by virtue of the fact he finished 2nd this afternoon. Dominguez finishes 6th, so he will drop to 3rd in the points. But Andrew Ranger, another strong run for that GoldenPalace.net car, the MyJack Conquest Racing entry, and it was Catherine Legge that spun it in turn 5 on that final lap. She was battling away, I believe, with Nikki Pastorelli over 14th place. Been a disappointing day, or disappointing weekend for Catherine Legge. She qualified in last position in 17th on the grid. She thought she had a much better car than that coming into the race, but both she and Oriol Servia clearly have struggled all weekend long, or all race long, and in fact Catherine set a faster race lap than did Oriol Servia. She did a 16.183, Oriol's best a 16.423. That girl has game.
Greg, I got to ask you, I know your wife is home expecting a child, and you have a race today where you really had to get your hands dirty to pull it out. What's going through your head right now?
Well, I'm really pleased. I mean, I felt like we had a fast car, and obviously Sebastian's a tremendous driver, but man, hats off to Rousport, Justin and Todd and the crew there. They put together a fast car too. We had a race on our hands. I'm just pleased that our crew had a great pit stop at the end. Pedro, our chief mechanic, top-notch guy, leads a great crew of guys, and they made it count when it had to count at the end. So I was really proud of them, really proud.
Did Sebastian say anything to you after that near miss toward the end of the race?
No, he kind of had his hands full. Usually when they're busy, you don't hear a whole lot about him. I'm sure he had a few choice French words to say in the cockpit, but we got lucky. The guys got to use their mirrors, though.
Lucky but skillful today. They earned it.
Well done, Bill Stevens there with Craig Hampson, the race engineer for Sebastian Bourdais. And again, his perfect season continues. 3 races, 3 wins, James.
Well, 3 in a row. It might just be a little bit of foresight to what might be coming for 3 championships in a row. He's won the first 2. If he did it, he'd be the first guy since Ted Horn, who took the titles in 1946, 47, and 48. He'd be the first guy to do it in over 50 years, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Indeed, so he's been absolutely superb this season, has Sebastian Bourdais.
Before the race, that last year at about lap 25, he really physically started to feel like he was breaking down a bit.
We can get him out.
Obviously not a problem here today, driving it all the way to Victory Circle, and Sebastian, you look a little whipped in there.
It's hot.
Yeah, very hot. Talk about the conditions on the track right now and how tough it is.
It was very slippery at the start and the middle stint, and the car really got better as we went through the race. At the end of the second stint, the car really got going really well for this McDonald's car on the regular tires, and the others started to struggle a little bit, and that's where we won the race really.
Were you surprised with the way the pit stops went down the first time through?
I was a little surprised to lose the lead like that, but I knew we were going to full field, so maybe just short field just a little bit.
The last pit stop, I mean, it was a pretty good effort. Were you excited with it?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously full field, so the last stop was going to be very short and new tires. So that was with the option tires for a shorter stint, that was going to be perfect.
Craig Hampson said you were running on fumes. Did you know it, and were you feeling maybe in the pit of your stomach it might have been too far to go?
No, I made a good effort in the middle stint when I was stuck behind AJ to save more fuel, and that was just fine now.
Congratulations, 3 wins to start the season.
Thanks.
So there it is, a victory kiss for Sebastian Bourdais, and you know, it was all about the in-laps and out-laps, I reckon. The pit stops, yeah, they were great. The strategy was perfect, but those in-laps and out-laps for Sebastian Bourdais, that was a key, James.
Absolutely. It looked like once Justin took the lead after those first stops, they were waiting for the second stops. They needed to know when Justin was going to pit. He pitted, and they made the right call to stay out a lap longer. Now, it sounds like there might have been their original plan to pit on the same lap, but they had just enough fuel, because they said that Sebastian was literally on fumes when he came in for his pit stop, and that call to keep him out 1 lap later, and that 1 lap that he did, because he laid down 2 unbelievably quick laps in a row to come in there, that's what really made the difference. Great job by the Newman Haas crew to do that, and I don't know, I think McDonald's is going to have to start serving donuts, because Sebastian just keeps serving them up.
He does a great job, and he's getting better at those donuts as well. You pleased the crowd there down in turn 10 by celebratory donuts there, a la Alex Zanardi, and Alex watches a lot of these races. Great to have you with us, Alex, and he's been racing, I think, in the World Touring Car Championship this weekend at Brands Hatch. Have to find out how he did, but this afternoon it's been all about Sebastian Bourdais. But let's have a word, hats off to the Rousport team, Justin Wilson and AJ Allmendinger. Their amazing run of success since the beginning of last season. Every race they have had at least 1 car in the top 5 of the grid and the top finishing order as well. So Rousport is knocking on the door of Newman Haas Racing.